Arrears and vacancies. Two key metrics that you have to understand and work with to dominate in the property space. An arrear is when a tenant is not paying, they're falling behind. A vacancy is when the unit's empty and it's not generating any revenue. Both of these two are a drag on your cash flow. Arrears tends to be more scary for most people because they think an arrear means I have to go through an eviction process, though that's more your worst case scenario. For the most part, especially in this affordable housing market, your tenants are sometimes going to fall behind on their rent. It might be 1 month behind, 2 months behind, 3 months behind. Obviously, the further they get behind, the more risky it is for you in terms of recovering that, and you want to try and mitigate that as much as possible. Looking at this property behind me, Bat and Keep, it's got 9 units here in Forest Hill, and we've only got 2 arrears, both amounting to 500 Rand each. And these 2 arrears are just because the tenants are going through a little bit of a rough patch, but they've already got a payment plan in place. For the most part, arrears are manageable if you provide a good quality product and you're a fair and reasonable landlord. Sometimes you have to be a little bit harder and do some credit control, so maybe putting in a prepaid system and then limiting the amount of electricity or water that the tenant is allowed until they've caught up. Or you can put some of those charges on the prepaid system so that when they pay for electricity, a portion goes towards their rent. But just be aware that when you are doing this, you are breaking the law, and your tenant then has the right to take you to the rental tribunal or to court. Vacancies, on the other hand, is an equally big problem. When we first bought this building, there were only 2 tenants in the property. The rest was vacant. We had to go in and understand why was it vacant. The main reason was, number 1, all the geysers had been stolen out of the property and people want hot water, let's be honest. Number 2, there were no built-in cupboards. And number 3, the units were in really bad shape. So when we went in and did our due diligence on this deal, we made sure to put a healthy 350,000 Rand budget so that we could fix each one of the units, provide them with geysers, as well as put in built-in cupboards. Within 3 months, we had this building completely full. So if you've got vacancies for an extended period of time, you have to look at, is your product fit for the market? What's missing so that you can get it full? Because if you've got arrears, or if you've got vacancies, it affects your cash flow, and cash flow is the lifeblood of every business. Arrears and vacancies is one of the key things you have to get right as a property investor, but these two concepts are very different when you're looking at residential versus commercial. Behind me is Melanzhof, one of our star investments. It's got the retail component, commercial component, and residential component. When we look at our vacancies and arrears across these 3 different strategies, it's very, very different. You see, with the arrears, it's much easier to evict a retail or commercial tenants, right? All you have to do is lock the door. It's not that you're locking somebody out of their house. You're not locking a child into the house. There's no legal repercussions. You lock your tenant out of their place of work, and if they don't pay their debt, they don't get access to the room. That makes evicting in the commercial and retail space easier. You see, when you go to the residential component, you're not allowed to lock your tenant out. You're not allowed to switch off their water, switch off their electricity. Some landlords do that because they're desperate, or they're trying to effectively push the tenant out or push them into paying their rent. The legal infrastructure in South Africa favors the tenant, protecting them over the rights of the landlord. That's something you have to be aware of, that evicting in the residential space is a bit harder. Then we look at vacancies. Now, vacancies in the lower income affordable housing space is not really such a problem. And the reason for that is because demand is incredibly high. So vacancies don't factor in when your demand is high enough. I can look at it from my portfolio in my high density areas. When I have a tenant that leaves within 2-3 weeks, I've got 5 lined up ready to take that unit. When you look at commercial and retail, that's a different story. For example, that retail shop there, that's now the coffee shop, that took 6 months for us to fill. It's not really that easy to fill your commercial, your retail aspects. Now, we are lucky that we have 100% occupancy here. We're on a great main road. It's a well-maintained building. We've got the solar power, which means we are effectively off the grid if load shedding comes back. So we've got a lot of appeal on this building. But as there are vacancies in your commercial space, you can expect those vacancies to last a lot longer than in the residential space. So in summary, arrears and vacancies are key indicators of success in your property business. Whether you're commercial, retail, or residential, you need to make sure your numbers look good. So I'm here with Angel, one of my rental agents, and she's been kind enough to put herself online and share some of her knowledge and insights as somebody who's been in the game for a while. We're standing in front of Rotunda Court, which is a building that you are managing for me. It is 6 times 3 bedrooms. And I wanted to ask a few questions around arrears, managing tenants, vacancies, that kind of stuff. So let's start with, finding a new tenant. What is your process to find a tenant and then to vet that tenant?
Okay, so obviously we'll advertise the apartment. We'll obviously also promote the adverts, especially if we have more than one vacancy. We also use tactics like a 50% off first month's rental or first month for free if we do battle over a month to fill the unit.
And then how important is it to get your landlord's buy-in when it comes to this process?
Well, definitely. I mean, we can't do anything without your permission. We can't say, hey, we'll give you a discount, and at the end of the day, you're losing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely have to ask you first. If there's no go, we have to do our very best, add on more agents, do more show days, all these different types of things to attract more of the clientele.
Okay, so you use various property portals, maybe some paid advertising to get some interest. Then we find 3, 4, 5 different tenants. What's the vetting process that you usually follow?
So we give them we issue a very, very detailed rental application, and then we require all the FICA documents. If the tenants aren't able to provide that, we don't necessarily continue with them.
So FICA is ID, proof of address, bank statement,
payslips, your passport, bank confirmation letter as well. That's very important.
Yeah.
We find a lot of times, especially in the cheaper markets or areas like this, is that people give fraudulent bank statements. We'll pick it up with an FNB. It's 11 digits instead of 10, or vice versa. There's all these different tricks that we actually see and highlight. It's like triggers you. Spelling errors as well. Bank's not going to make a spelling error. The past 3 months, I think we've had, out of 10 applicants, we've had about 4 like that we've received.
An idea would be for them to get into the property and then not get out. Right?
Yeah.
So they use fraudulent documentation to get in, and then it takes forever to get them out.
Correct. And then they always have the first month's deposit or 2 months deposit. We can pay up front. That's also a very big line that they do. Oh, we can pay 2 or 3 months up front. They do that. Once that time is up, it's difficult to collect or difficult to get them out. Then you have to apply the credit control measures. And then if that doesn't work, we have to go the legal route, to getting a sheriff out and court orders and all of that, which takes like 3 months, 6 months, up to a year sometimes.
Yeah, we're busy doing a legal eviction and we're on month 10 with no real end in sight. Okay, so we've spoken about finding tenants, vetting them, doing those checks, which I think that's the main part of getting your management right, is placing only good quality tenants. Then we talk about evictions or getting rid of tenants. Now, we've spoken about the legal route, but let's be honest, legal is probably not the most optimal route. When you speak about credit risk or credit control, what do you mean by that?
So credit control measures, we mean limiting electricity. So we can either install a new breaker where it's 20 amps to run a unit, and we'll install a 10 amp. So that means they can only run one plug, one light, one this at a time. We can do that. We load arrears to the electricity prepaid meter at a certain percentage. We can do it 80%, 50%.
So if you say 80%, it means if they put 100 Rand into the meter, 80% or 80 Rand comes to the landlord as part of rent, and 20% is actually buying credits.
That's correct. After city or council takes off their portion, and then the prepaid company as well. Yeah. So for like 100 Rand, you get these days 20 units rather. 18, for example, 18 of those units will be yours, and the 2 will go to the tenant.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also block, right?
You can.
No more electricity, no more water.
Yeah. Personally, as a portfolio manager, I prefer to load the arrears, because then you do have a higher chance of recovering some of that loss. Whereas if you block, sometimes the tenant moves out, sometimes not. And like I'm saying, the past couple of months, I've been to, I think, 3 tribunal cases in this past month with that.
So obviously it's not illegal for us to switch off electricity or to do credit control measures
at all.
And that's why tenants can take us to rental tribunal. Rental tribunal, I've heard, is like a dog without teeth. It's got a big bark and a very light bite, which is okay for us as landlords. But I don't really see another way.
There's no other way.
Like going the legal route is not an option. Doing credit control is slightly risky, but it's quite effective. Is there anything else that we or other landlords that you've seen do to get evictions?
Yeah, definitely. What I've seen a couple of landlords do, or even sometimes we've done, is we get a security team to move in with the tenants
And live there.
and live there with them.
That would be like with like a hijack building situation, right?
Yeah. Or if it's something like this and we have a tenant that's not paying, what we could do is we could say, look, we've cancelled your lease. You are legally occupying this unit. We have got a tenant that has signed a lease that has the right to move in.
Yeah.
So either you move out or they live with you.
Hectic.
Yeah. So we can legally do that.
Because this building was hijacked.
Yes, it was. And then this unit down here was burnt.
Then this unit burnt down?
Yeah.
Maybe my last question is, as a portfolio manager, as somebody that manages these buildings and these units, what frustrates you about landlords? What do they do wrong, or what do they do right that you'd like to see more of?
Right. Well, I think you are like an excellent example. You in the area.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys, if we do battle, you're obviously very open-minded, which not a lot of landlords are, sorry. I mean, you've paid tenants to move, like I think it was 6 Villa Erica. You actually paid someone to get them out and then paid them like a deposit to find something else. And then you've done that. We don't see that often.
Yeah.
I think you're the only landlord that has done that I've worked with. We don't see that enough. I mean, also a lot of landlords would say, look, I just want this tenant out. It's your baby. I mean, we are mandated to collect, but we are not mandated to take on extra costs to get your tenant out. You know, it's not benefiting us at the end of the day. I think a lot of landlords think that we're mandated to do that.
Yeah, and that you guarantee rental.
We're not. No agency will guarantee rental. If somebody does, I mean, they're pulling wool over your heart or trying to sell you salt as sugar.
Yeah. And what else have you seen that frustrates you about other landlords that they don't do enough of?
Lack of maintenance as well. Obviously, trying to dig as much money out of it or trying to get just the monies or the returns.
Yeah, investors will buy a building and then never touch it for 5 years, just trying to get as much.
Milking it. And it really doesn't work. And I mean, at the end of the day, you don't get good clientele. Your reputation as well is destroyed, especially if you're working privately. But if you're working as under an agency, I mean, name gets tarnished, you know, because we seem like, oh, we don't want to do maintenance. Tenants don't look at the landlord. The tenants look at us. And then your building also has a higher chance of being hijacked, gets vandalized. I mean, it ruins it.
Yeah.
You know, it ruins it. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of investment.
Arrears and vacancies are not an issue if you've got a good, reliable managing agent. This is something that I help you with through my coaching program. In fact, you get access to the exact same team that I use to manage all of these buildings. So if you're interested in having somebody like me who's got experience in this market, who can help you avoid the mistakes and make sure you do a great investment, consider joining my coaching program where I teach you everything from finding a deal to closing and managing a deal. And you get access to my power team. You get to use the same managing agents and eviction specialists that I use to operate these buildings very profitably. So if that sounds interesting for you, click the link below and apply for my next round of intake.